Here.
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 Would you please rise for the posting of the colors?
Forward, march. Mark time, march. Detail, halt. Sir, request permission to post colors.
Please post the colors.
Thank you, sir. Post colors.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, on. Reverse colors, march. Right face. Forward, march.
Please be seated. Ravitch?
The announcement of public participation. There's two opportunities for the public to address the board. First is on agenda items, which is immediately before the agenda. Second is on non-agenda items, which is at the end of the meeting. Pursuant to board policy and the Sunshine Law, it is not question answered, but is a 3-minute opportunity to provide information to the board on matters that are or may come before it. And I believe all are on non-agenda, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Is that right, Anna? All are non-agenda?
Correct.
This evening, I would like to welcome Cub Scout Patch 410, who is they're attending tonight's meeting to learn about local government and how it works. Would you like to stand and be recognized, please? Thank you. Glad you're able to be here tonight. This evening, prior to tonight's meeting, the board met in executive session to discuss some student situations. There were no votes taken. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from November 6, 2017. Do I have a motion for approval? Dr. Chmielewski. Second, Mr. Martin. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Treasurer's report and investment report.
Mr. President, I submit the following reports for board approval that were submitted earlier today. The Treasurer's report, investment report, and general fund financial report.
Do I have a second? Mrs. Reid, roll call, please.
Dr. Chmielewski?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Hopp?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Metzgar?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mrs. Reid?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
And Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
That's 9-4 and 0 against.
Mr. President.
Payment of bills.
I submit we pay bills in the amount of $2,570,762.61 from the 2017-18 general fund, and in the amount of $148,604.98 from the capital reserve 17-18 fund.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Mr. Martin, roll call, please.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Hopp?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Metzgar?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mrs.
and the financial reports.
Finally, I submit the board approval of the financial reports dated October 2017 on the cafeteria account, child care account, and the activity accounts at Wilson Middle School and Senior High School.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Mrs. Reid. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hopp?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Metzger?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mrs. Reid?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Dr. Chmielewski?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
And Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
9-4, 0 against.
Under ratifications 4.1, request permission to approve the overnight and/or out-of-state field trips and participations as attached. Do I have a motion for approval? Mrs. Reid, second. Dr. Chmielewski. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Ehrlich. It's my privilege this evening to present the superintendent's report, personnel and program recommendations. It's the administrative recommendation that the board approve the items as presented.
Thank you. Do I have a motion for approval? Mr. Hart, second. Mr. Wolf, roll call, please.
Mr. Metzger?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mrs. Reid?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Dr. Chmielewski?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Hopp?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
And Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
9-4, 0 against.
Under Human Resources 7.1, request approval for $250 signing bonus for the child care employees as attached. And 7.2, request approval of the 2017-2018 advisors as attached. Do I have a motion for approval? Mrs. Reid, second. Mr. Wolf, roll call, please.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mrs. Reid? Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Dr. Chmielewski?
Yes.
Mr. Hart? Mr. Hopp?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Metzger?
Yes.
And Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
9-4, 0 against.
Under Pupil Services 8.1, request approval to contract with Opportunity School to provide education for a special education student at a cost of $175 per day, which will began on November 6, 2017, ending on June 8, 2018. Under 8.2, request permission to apply for Act 80 days for elementary and secondary schools, and those are all listed and have been attached. 8.3, request approval of the resolution approving and adopting student discipline waiver and consent agreement dated November 9th, 2017. And 8.4, request permission to ratify the placement of one 17-year-old Wilson High School student on November 15th, 2017 into the River Rock Academy. Do I have a motion for approval? Mr. Hart, second. Mr. Metzger. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Reid?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Dr. Chmielewski?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Hopp?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Metzger?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
And Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
That's 9-4, 0 against.
Under Operations 10.1, request permission to award CM3 Building Solutions, Inc., the GSEA project in the amount of $3,285,000 to be funded with the proceeds of the General Obligation Note Series B of 2017. Do I have a motion for approval? Mr. Negrini. Do I have a second? Mr. Martin. Is there any discussion?
We had discussed, President Ehrlich, with our 5-year capital project. Some of these were listed out off of 2, 3, and 4 years down the road. But with these, the general obligation note that had to be utilized by the next 18 months, we felt, given the interest rate on that particular bond, it would be well served for the district to move ahead with these projects within the next 12 months There is some energy savings with those particular projects, and that we can then utilize funds in the next 4 years set aside for other capital projects elsewhere. So that's why this recommendation is being made by facilities and run through the finance committee as well.
And just as a refresher to everybody on the board, this is not additional borrowings. This is what was already approved by the board. The Series B note, it was already approved. We've now going to utilize some of that money for this. So this was already approved. That's correct.
So that, this is not money that is just spent. The savings will pay for itself over the next 15 years.
Correct. I think I have a motion and a second, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. Roll call.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Dr. Chmielewski?
Yes.
Mr. Hart? Mr. Hopp?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Metzger?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mrs. Reid? Yes. And Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
9-4-0 against.
Under Finance, 11.1, request permission to receive the audit report from Herbine and Company for the fiscal year June 30th, 2017. 11.2, request approval of the proposed engagement letter from Herbine and Company for the performance of the annual audit for the financial statements of the Wilson School District for the years ended June 30th, 2018, 2019, 2020, for an annual fee not to exceed $24,750. 11.3, request permission to submit the following delinquent account to the Berks County Tax Claim Bureau. There was one Spring Township 2016 interim tax bill. 11.4, request permission to open a class of 2020 student activity account. 11.5, request permission to open a class of 2021 student activity account. 11.6, request permission to create a Students for Sustainability Club. This is where students can learn how to lead a more sustainable lives, share and discuss ideas on how to reduce our environmental footprints. This club will be advised by Tyler Small. And 11.7, request approval of the budget transfers dated October 12th through November 15th, 2017. Do I have a motion for approval? Dr. Chmielewski, second. Mr. Martin. I would just like to make two comments in regard to the audit. First of all, I want to thank and congratulate our great finance staff led by Christine Schlossman, who did an exceptional job in making sure that the finances for this district are in order, and we're following all of the regulations and accounting procedures that we need to follow. There is one item that in discussing with Herbine that came up, and this has to do with the school district's fund balance. We currently have a policy stating that our fund balance should not go below 3%. In looking at some of our peer school districts, some of those districts have, many of them have fund balances of 5% and greater. The Finance Committee discussed this at length and have looked for input from Herbine, and our goal here over time will be to get up to that 5%. We're not going to change our policy at this point, but the goal of the Finance Committee and this board should be to be more in line with some of our peer school districts. The other item I want to make clear is on the audit fee from Herbine for $24,750. This fee is consistent with what has been charged for this year. There's no increase in that audit fee, so Herbine has agreed to hold that fee over the next 3 years, and I appreciate that from Herbine.
Mr. Ehrlich, not only is increasing our fund balance to be not less than 5% of the following year's projected budget in the case of financial interruption for whatever reason, whether it be lack of funding or whether it be some type of catastrophic emergency. So this is a recommendation as well of Herbine based upon their understanding of accepted accounting principles. So for
Correct.
a district of this size and a budget of our size, we're certainly below what is recommended by the auditor.
Correct. And as discussed, we had to look at the impact to the taxpayers in the short term to accomplish this. So it's something we need to do, and we will work to achieve that.
Hasn't all this compounded on so much over the past 8 years?
Yeah,
Maintain
yeah.
the current fund balance and our budget.
Right, the percentages
Nearly
get smaller,
doubles.
correct.
Because I remember when I started, we were at 5%.
Right. And generally, we try to be more than the 3%, but when you're looking at this district and having an annual budget of nearly $100 million, as you, yeah, 103. But as you said, that fund balance, if you maintain the same dollar amount, it ultimately becomes a smaller percentage, obviously. So, I believe we have a motion and a second. So unless there's any more discussion, I'd like a roll call, please.
Dr. Chmielewski?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Hopp?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Metzger?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mrs. Reid? Yes. Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
9-4 and 0 against.
Committee reports. Berks Career and Technology.
The next meeting of the JRC of BCTC will be held on December 14th at the West Campus at 6:30. Committee of the Whole begins at 6:30 p.m. That is the reorganizational meeting, and as you know, I requested last time, if it's okay, I'd like to attend so I can help transition whoever the new appointee is to that.
Absolutely. And
Position
we
here.
thank you for your willingness to do that.
You're welcome. That is all.
Berks Berks County IU, sorry.
Okay. There is a symposium, it's called Building Pathways Between School and Work. The breakfast meeting is from 7:30 to 9:30 in the morning, and it's Thursday, November 30th, so that's a week from this Thursday. And the audience they're targeting is local business and nonprofit representatives, higher education professionals, and K through 12 school district teams. So I have this if anybody's interested in seeing it. And the second thing, they have actually announced, even though this is way in advance, April 26, 2018 will be the meeting of the Berks County School Directors. And that is at Reading-Muhlenberg Career and Tech. And that's where the retiring school directors are honored. So for those people that won't be here, that is an invitation that is open to you. Thank you.
Berks EIT. Curriculum Committee.
Okay. We discussed quite a few things. We went through many of the new course offerings, and a lot of the changes were discussed. And basically, they're trying to increase offerings for our high school students. A lot of changes were just in name or designations. Some were new, some were dual enrollment. So that'll be coming out, I guess, in, I think, January. Open campus for senior, they are changing the requirements from a 3.5 GPA to a 3.4. This should mean about 80 more students will be there. Now, the interesting thing is what they try to do with this is to have the students, they do it during their study hall. So they try to have their study hall first thing in the morning so they could come a little later to school, or last thing in the afternoon so they could leave a little early, or over lunch so they could leave the campus and have adequate amount of time to go out and have lunch. So that's it's only for seniors, but it will allow more students to be part of that program. We also, the federal P3 grant for 4- and 5-year-olds, we saw the cute little backpacks, little kitty-sized backpacks, and there are cards attached, things that the parents can do with the children. They're all in plastic so they won't get wrecked. And whatever is needed to do for the card is inside of the backpack. so this is something they're targeting all the 3- and 4-year-olds that we can find in our district. So they're going to the different daycare centers, nursery schools, just children that aren't even in anything, if they have connection, or they can find kids that aren't even involved in that, because they're trying to prepare them better for kindergarten. So this is a neat thing, and they're hoping they can get as many as possible. And they're going to meet, I believe, 4 times a year with the parents and go over some of the ideas and some of the things they should be doing. The next thing was the PSSA. They were touting how they had changed it so much and decreased it so much, and they did. They've gone from 9 days to 7. I would say they still have a little ways to go, but at least we are a step in the right direction. And the last thing that's coming up is that we are going to be expected to do increased college and career readiness for our children, grades 3, 5, 8, and 11. They have standards. We're going to be working to meet these standards. These children are going to have to start a portfolio in 3rd grade, and it kind of will go with them, and then they will keep putting new things into it. So by the time they're in 11th grade, they need to have a pretty substantial portfolio that the state could come in and take a look at and make sure we're doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Did they also change Keystone graduating requirements?
They pushed it off a year, again, another year, so now I think the Keystone requirement will be for the class of 1920. It had been pushed off to 18, 19, so 1 more year deferred.
That's the end of my report.
It's an unrealistic expectation.
Thank you. Extracurricular.
Our fall athletics are now officially complete. Unfortunately, football ended on Friday, although only after another great season. And believe it or not, our winter sports started already on Friday, last Friday. So best of luck to those teams. I should have more to report next meeting on both athletic and non-athletic extracurriculars. That's it.
Facilities? No report. Finance, I do not have anything additional. Human resources?
No report.
Legislative?
It's the same old thing. The Independent Fiscal Office released their long-term projections for Pennsylvania economy and shortfalls, and at the rate we're going, we'll be down a deficit of $2.1 billion by 23. They have no way of funding the gaps.
That's it.
I know, happy holidays.
Public Relations and Education Foundation?
Thank you. I'd like to share some Wilson good news. So over 900 people attended the 16th annual Berks County Veterans Appreciation Dinner and Dance hosted by our JROTC. And all proceeds from this year's event went to the Opportunity House Veteran Services. And I think we all can agree that this is a wonderful event for our community, and we want to publicly thank everyone who made it possible again this year. Under public information, we celebrated National Education Week last week in all of our school buildings. Parents were invited to visit their students' classrooms, and teachers received many special treats from the community. We want to issue a very special thank you to the Retired Teachers Association, which delivered snacks to each building and facility in the Wilson School District last week as a thank you to our staff during American Education Week. And Dr. Fadley also hosted an ice cream social with our support staff to thank them for all they do for our school community. It was a great event. And finally, we did run a week-long social media campaign sharing quotes about the value of education throughout the week. You may have noticed the incredible artwork. Hopefully when you came in, your day was brightened by all this amazing artwork. This is the latest exhibit from the Grandview Gallery. This exhibit is entitled We Made Art, Let Us Show You. And the artwork features the creativity of our Shiloh Hills elementary students who are under the direction of their art teacher, Chris Carr. We did hold an opening reception last Thursday, and the gallery will have additional evening hours again on Tuesday, December 5th, from 5 to 7 p.m., and I think we can all agree that we have some amazing young artists. So I encourage you, after tonight, take a look at all this amazing artwork. It's K through 2nd graders who did this art, and it's pretty incredible, and I think it just shows just the incredible art program that we have here at Wilson. So take a minute afterwards and view all this incredible artwork. Sixth grade Wilson West social studies teacher Melissa Harris was featured in the Reading Eagles In Our School special section. So we congratulate Mrs. Harris for being chosen for this recognition. And finally, the students and staff at Cornwall Terrace recently celebrated the 80th birthday of Wilson food service worker Teresa Borelli. It was a great celebration, and it was so great that the Reading Eagle actually came and took pictures and wrote an entire feature story on Teresa and her role here at Wilson. So that was a great story in the Reading Eagle for Wilson. And then I'd like to also issue the Wilson Education Foundation report. A community mailing promoting the Education Foundation will be mailing to all households in the Wilson School District the last week of November. The mailing will provide an overview of the foundation and the programs and initiatives that we support in our district. And the piece is designed to raise community awareness about the foundation as well as raise additional funding for our programs. So thank you.
Artworks, kindergarten to second grade, it makes me realize I have no artistic ability at all when I look at these, because they're quite remarkable. Technology. Student outreach. Sophia could not be here this evening, so I am going to fill in and issue her report. As Mr. Wolf commented, football season ended on Friday at Mannheim. The Bulldogs finished with a record of 8-4. The Wilson High School held a cheerleading competition this past weekend in the gym. As many of you know, the Wilson Theater Company put on the production Godspell this past weekend, which was a huge success. At our last meeting, we had a little preview of that, and the production was outstanding. There are only 100 days till Minithon, and the captains are getting the rest of the students set up this week. Students are excited for the upcoming Thanksgiving break this weekend, and the Minithon held a fundraiser at Austin's last Thursday, which was a huge success. Mr. Moravec? No report. No report. Under other business, the next item that I have, we have 4 board members who are whose terms of service are going to be ending. I'm just going to do this in the order that Edna put these on the agenda. First of all, generally, I would personally and on behalf of the school district and the board thank these 4 people for the years of service. Being on the school board is not an easy job. Many times people say it is a thankless job, and I truly understand that. Trust me, these 4 people have served on the board, in my opinion, for the right reasons, because they wanted to make Wilson School District a better school district, wanted to serve their community, and I greatly thank them for their service. It's been a pleasure getting to know them, getting to work with them on many different things. I know the amount of hours that we all put in, and it's been a privilege, honestly, been a privilege to serve with all of you, and I thank you personally, on behalf of the board and behalf of the school district and our community. I thank you for all of your years of service. Our first board member is Dr. Chmielewski. Dr. Chmielewski was elected to the board in December 2009. He has served 2 terms for a total of 8 years. He has served as treasurer. I appreciate your work as serving as treasurer. I know that's a job that he took seriously and put the time in on that job. He served as the chair of the technology committee as well as co-chair of the curriculum committee. I know the technology committee has done an awful lot from our website, and we've discussed our Chromebooks. That Dr. Chmielewski was really a huge driving force behind that. That was a big decision for the Wilson School District, and I thank you and give you an opportunity to.
It was a pleasure serving with everyone here. There are people I got to know who I would not have otherwise. A lot of people in the audience that I know that I wouldn't have known otherwise. I did my best. That's all I think you can ever ask from anybody. It's a Cub Scout motto, right, Captain? Or it used to be.
Do your best.
So do your best. Do your best. Nobody can ever be asked
We have something as a small token of our appreciation. Steve, we thank you.
I'll miss you. Let there be light.
Our next board member is Jason Hopp. Jason has been on the board for a long time, was elected to the board in December 2001. He has served 4 terms, total of 16 years. He has served as president of this board, has served as chair of the Human Resources Committee, as well as been our PSBA Employee Relations Representative. Boy, what to say about Jason. He just has been a wealth of knowledge for me personally. I think for the board as a whole has always has a viewpoint that is something to consider. And as we've said, and I think I could say about everybody, we don't always agree on every item, but I truly believe that everybody has the best interest of the school district at heart. Jason has put in an awful lot of years for this board, and again, Jason, I can't thank you enough for all of your years of service on the Wilson School Board.
Excuse me, thank you, Steve. I was thinking back today what I wanted to say, and I started this journey 16 years ago as a bachelor with no gray hair, and now I have a wife and 3 kids and a lot of gray hair. So things have changed during that time. I think the biggest thing for me was, as Steve had alluded to, was the relationships that you develop. I mean, first and foremost, I've learned something from every single one of my fellow board members. Not just that I'm currently serving with, but others. And it made me think back, who I've served with outside of my brethren here. And I made a list because I wanted to thank them. Going back to when I first started in 2001, and actually it's so ironic because her son, Pat, coached my son Brendan in football this year, and he was in elementary school when I started on the school board. But Linda Zerby, Tom Ott, Randy Blatt, Tom Coveley, Gary Collar, Andy Fick, George Mack, Brenda Mack, Al Wicks, Jeff Werner, Dan Choma, and Bob Meyer. I've learned something from all of you. One of the things we've learned is that different viewpoints are good. And the hard part is vetting those viewpoints. That takes time. It takes time behind the scenes and in executive sessions, and that's just part of the job. And I've learned so much from it. There's 2 people in particular that have really left a lasting impression on me for the rest of my life, and that's George Mack. George, I learned from, George was there for me in the worst of times and the best of times. I learned just his unconditional love for Wilson and this community. The second person is Rudy Ruth. If I could tell my children who I want them to be when they grow up, it's not me, it's Rudy. you know, I've never encountered someone with such honor and dignity, a true leader and a true gentleman that I can only hope my children end up being like someday. Things that I want to also thank, I want to thank the staff that's here, the professional staff, the support staff, our administrators. Without you guys, this district wouldn't be what it is. We can have different viewpoints, but at the same day, we're all Bulldogs, and that's what makes us special. I want to thank Lori Lillis. Lori is, I was here when we hired Lori as our first Director of Human Resources, and I've personally worked with Lori as the Chairman of the Human Resources Committee for well over a decade. Lori is top-notch, and you couldn't imagine a better HR director for an organization, and I'm proud to have worked with her. I'm proud to have been a part of so much change, when I think positive change in this district. One of our roles is as a school director is making sure our facilities are there so that we can educate our children. And again, I like lists, and I wrote down things that I was a part of. I was a part of the groundbreaking of Green Valley Elementary School, Wilson West Elementary School, the complete renovation that took over a year at Whitfield Elementary School, the complete facilities upgrade at our high school campus, allowing for turf fields and a second additional field, the new natatorium, one of my, if anyone who knows me knows my love and commitment for Wilson Southern. My children go to West, but my wife and I went to Southern, and it's always going to be a special place, and ensuring that they got the same treatment as everyone else. And to see finally, before I left, a field upgrades there. I'm proud to see that. What else? The 6th classroom addition at the high school, and the creation of the junior ROTC program, which I was part of, again, just one person out of 9. I'm nobody special. I'm just here when history happened to bring it here. And I think that just has really brought so many children that were not necessarily involved into the envelope to be involved and to serve our community, to understand ideals beyond them in terms of selflessness. And I'm proud to see that program here. Finally, I want to thank Steph Cocker, Ed Case, Amy Kennedy, and Becky Ellis, that they, along with other people that weren't on the board that ran this year, that cared enough to want to make a difference. I got to know them throughout this campaign, and I could tell my fellow board members and this community that they are all good people, that they will serve this board well, and I feel that this board will be in good hands when I leave. So thank you.
I think we have an item for Jason. I guess this goes along with your gray hair, Jason. Enjoy it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes.
Next is Bob Metzgar. Bob was elected to the board in December 2013, has served on the board for 4 years, has done an outstanding job chairing our student outreach committee and co-chaired the curriculum committee, as well as been the board representative to the BCTC, BCTC, which he has really taken an interest in, and we've seen that relationship with the Wilson School District really flourish during Bob's time on that board, and we appreciate that. Bob, it's been a pleasure to get to know you and have your input as obviously a community member, a parent, and thank you for your service.
Thanks, Mr. Ehrlich. I appreciate that greatly. I would like a few brief words, and I just want to say it's always so hard to follow up Hopp. You know, he has something great to say all the time. So I just want to get that out of the way. Like others, thank you, everyone. The public, the taxpayers of the district, the families, the students, thanks for everyone's faith in us as elected members, me specifically, I guess. You know, as an elected member, I can't express the gratitude I have felt and the honor it's been really to try to do my best to serve everyone. And I mean that in the most sincere fashion. When I started off thinking, wow, I could run for the school board, and, you know, I remember, you know, we were in a spot at the time when Rudy was very encouraging of, yes, you should run, you know, and, you know, Al Wicks isn't gonna run again, and let's give it a shot. And it went from what the heck is going on and how can I help to a whole lot of in between. And it's been a real honor to be able to serve alongside all of you. Specifically, I'd like to thank Dr. C for his leadership with technology. Did a great job, you know, keeping that together and helping me along. And Mr. Negrini, Mr. Ehrlich, for your time that you've spent as board presidents under my tenure here. I appreciate all the wonderful leadership and support that you've provided to us. I'd be remiss not to say thanks to all the wonderful teachers we have in the district for the work you do every day, and the support staff, of which I was a member previously. So they don't get enough thanks. So thanks to everyone and the administration, not you know, to be withstanding for all of your efforts. 2 items before we end this, and I'll try to be brief. Many of you know I'm transitioning into a role as that of Borough Council member in Sinking Spring. I call it the opposite Hopp maneuver, right? As Jason has previously served in that organization as well. And there is one serious item of note I'd like to mention about that is many of you know that I've been heavily involved in our BOSS 2020 redevelopment program, which is revitalization in the borough of Sinking Spring. I mentioned it during our town hall meeting in the May primary. Without me, and also without Jason, who's a Sinky, you know, product of Sinky being on the board anymore, that leaves a bit of a hole with representation in that group that I'd like to see, and I'd like to encourage the upcoming board to see be fulfilled. We've had some discussion and information sharing about what that project means to the community and to the district, but I'd just like to make a reminder to folks about that briefly before we move on. That project is important to the folks not only in the borough but also in the district, in that it is expected to help greatly ease the transportation in the area and help with how we bus our students, to make it safer for our students that walk to and from, and specifically an area where we've had student injuries occur in the past. The district also potentially has the most tax revenue increase benefit from that project. And I think it's important for us not only to have a seat at that table with that organization, but for us to, in the future, provide leadership and direction for that organization. So I'll be talking to Dr. Faley before, you know, my time's officially over. More about that in the future. Lastly, I'd like to make mention of the fact that as I reflect upon efforts that we've all been engaged in and that I've personally been engaged in with the district in my time here, I'd like to say that those items which were most fruitful for me have been those where we've all found a way to work together to achieve common goals. And I know that sounds cliche, but it's really true. You know, I think about items specifically that we can reference most effectively with curriculum, where we're working with each other across administration, teachers, board, et cetera, all the time. And tons of fruition there. I think you can look at every meeting that you guys have and find something to point to say, these are items that we worked on together and we were able to accomplish it. For myself, you know, it's been working with Amy and Jill Lynch with the Bulldog Blast and the summer playground stuff. And I just look at moments like that and say, these are times that we can look at to say, we've been able to work together and that's when we're at our best. I'd like to leave it at that. Thanks for the time to speak.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
And last but certainly not least, Carol Reid. Carol was elected to the board in December 2005. She has served 3 terms for 12 years. She has served as president of this board. She has served as chair of the curriculum committee as well as the board representative to the BCIU. On a personal note, I have learned so much from Carol and the interaction that I've had with Carol. Got an opportunity to know her better, got her point of view as a former teacher, educator, which has been invaluable to me as a board member and as board president. I can't thank you enough. It's been a pleasure to get to know you and get to work with you. I'm hoping this gives you an opportunity to work on your golf game, and hopefully. But again, on behalf of the board, can't thank you enough for all of your years of service. You've served for a long time and have served well.
I just wanted to say it's been an honor and a privilege to have worked as a school director. I've loved working with this board. I think this is a fabulous board. I've enjoyed the administrators, working with the teachers. I think we have a fabulous group of people here, and I was very happy to have been part of it. When I first ran, my campaign thing was all-day kindergarten. That's a long ways back. We went from all-day kindergarten. Of course, in order to achieve that, we had to do the middle school and change the configuration so we had room for the all-day kindergarten. We've gone on. I've really enjoyed being part of curriculum with Amy, and we've done so much. We have the academies. We didn't have those before. We have the virtual academy. We just have made so many changes, and I think we have brought things up a whole lot. I do remember when I first was on the board, we had a couple of years where we were in, I believe it's called improvement, and people would stand up and they would talk about what they were going to do to improve it so that we didn't have to go through improvement anymore. And those days are way back. I haven't seen anything like that. I mean, our academic success has been wonderful. So we've really made a lot of improvement, a lot of changes. I'm just so pleased with everything. Dr. Chmielewski brought in the capstone courses and changed the way we rank our students. Instead of first, second, third, fourth, fifth, we have the Latin honors system. So I think a whole lot of changes have been made in the last 12 years. I've been very proud to be part of it, and thank you. Right.
Again, thank you, all of you, for your service. I don't know if any of the other board members want to make any comments. If not, thank you all once again. We have one more agenda item, public participation on non-agenda items. And I've got a number of people who want to speak. First is Amanda Roth. Yep, up here.
It's 3 minutes, and I'll let you know when it's 1 minute.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Mandy Roth, and I'm a 30-year resident of the Wilson School District and a proud supporter of our wonderful education system and community here. I have a son majoring in education at college. He's set to graduate this year 1 year early, thanks in part to the opportunities he had at Wilson through AP offerings. He plans to immediately complete his master's, so I'm not really saving any money, but all is good. He was a top student at Wilson. He won the Reading Eagle Berks Best for Community Service, Homecoming King, played varsity baseball, sang leads in Wilson's musicals, was president of the Future Business Leaders, and head of Minithon. He spoke at his class graduation about the profound influence Wilson teachers had on his life, and was later asked by a national teaching training organization if he could be used as an example for their program on teacher education. At college, he was selected one of the top 6 education students in the entire Delaware Valley out of thousands. First, I admit I have not closely followed Wilson School Board politics over the years. The results the schools have produced seem to have made that effort unnecessary. So I was very surprised to hear education students among my son's peer group, including other Wilson graduates, discuss their early teaching career choices. These students are taught how to evaluate potential employers, and I was curious that when even discussing Berks County schools, Wilson did not come out in the top tier of prospects, and I wondered how could that be. Last year, I began substitute teaching periodically at Wilson after retiring from a 30-year career as a business marketing director. I began to see firsthand the effects and disruption of staff retention, and again was surprised to hear teachers talk about other employment opportunities they were seeking for the good of their families, even as they were torn about this and were clearly committed to their students. So by now I'm thinking, what is going on? I certainly don't have the answer to that. This is a complex issue involving the needs of the taxpayers, the school district, and the students. The fact that Wilson continues to be an excellent school system is a testament to those teaching there. However, as someone with career experience in brand management, I offer a word of caution about where you find yourselves now and the decisions you will be making that impact your teaching staff. You must be able to attract the best and brightest among new and seasoned teachers in order to maintain Wilson's education excellence. Thank you.
Next is Denise Hassan.
Good evening. My name is Denise Hassan, and I'm here tonight to talk about Wilson's reputation as a phenomenal school district. Many of you already know me. I was a colleague, I was your children's teachers, and also your neighbor. You may not, however, know the legacy of my Wilson life. I'm a proud graduate of Wilson, bicentennial class of '76. My brother, my sister, whose picture is downstairs on the wall of outstanding alumni outside the auditorium, my brother-in-law, who held many Wilson football and baseball records for years, and both of my children and my husband are all Wilson graduates. It is a Bulldog badge of honor that we wear proudly. I have been a Wilson resident and taxpayer my whole life. I actually grew up right down the street from this school, right from the upper parking lot. My mother worked 2 jobs after my father died when I was only 8 years old, so she could keep our house here in Wilson, because to her, Wilson was the most outstanding school in Berks County. I also had teachers who changed my life and the lives of both of my children. Their teaching abilities were premier, but most of all, their caring hearts mattered. The thing I am most proud of is that I was a teacher at Wilson. I retired in January of 2016 after 35.5 years of service. The half year, my only part not at Wilson, was my very first job at Wyomissing School District, where I was hired as a long-term sub for half a year. At the end, they offered me a full-time contract, but Wilson did too. I took the Wilson offer, even though it was $3,000 less in pay, because I wanted to be a Wilson teacher. I was so proud to be at Whitfield, where I had spent my elementary years. I was also served as the head of our library department for 25 years. My last 6 years at Wilson, I worked with very timely contracts and did not receive any pay increase for the entire 6 years, including more contribution to health care. I also went through 2 strikes and many contract negotiations. I have been taught by and worked side by side with some of the most phenomenal educators around. I have been proud to proclaim my legacy as being a true Bulldog. Now I am concerned that we will no longer attract the best or the brightest, or with the rate of attrition, maintain the quality level of the staff that we have. I believe the rare dinosaurs, such as myself, will be a thing of the past. The teachers who stay and live and breathe Wilson because they are proud to say that I work for the best. If prospective teachers see that they have better job security at other districts, they won't come to Wilson, and current teachers will leave for better opportunities. Many people ask me, why do you care so much now? You're retired. Well, next school year, my grandson will start kindergarten at Whitfield. The same school I went to, his mother went to, and where I taught and loved every minute. And I want him to have the best teachers and to continue the Wilson legacy. So please negotiate in good faith and provide the best for our teachers so that my grandson can also be as proud of being a Bulldog as the rest of his family. Thank you.
Next is Mike Fitzgerald.
Good evening. At the last board meeting on November 6th, a Wilson teacher was recognized by the board, and rightly so, for his contributions to the district, especially as they pertain to our Discovery program, which introduces STEM concepts to students. The WEA would like to add our sincere thanks and express our appreciation to this teacher as well. Unfortunately for the Wilson community, however, this teacher recently resigned, opting to take a position in the Boyertown School District, where he will begin working next week. We recently learned of some of the factors behind his decision to leave Wilson. He was on step 5 of our salary schedule. He should have been on step 6, but lost that step advancement in one of our wage freeze years. He will start on step 1, not 5, not 6, but step 1 on Boyertown's salary schedule. Yet he will earn $2,000 more than what he was earning at Wilson's step 5. He is currently in pursuit of his master's degree, and he expects to earn that in the next year. Once that degree is conferred, as a professional employee of Boyertown, he will realize a salary increase of over $7,200 more than if he remained at Wilson and acquired the same degree. Wilson has an attrition problem. We have the lowest teacher retention rate in Berks County, and we cannot expect to maintain our reputation for academic excellence unless this problem is confronted and addressed. However, recent contract proposals posited by the board do not address this issue. Conversely, it is our view that they will serve to exacerbate what has become a serious problem. Earlier in this evening's agenda, you approved the resignation of 2 additional teachers, bringing to 20 the number of staff members that have resigned and left Wilson in just the last 5 months. Denying or ignoring this problem will not make it go away. Please explain to the Wilson teachers why they should not be compensated in a manner commensurate with their peers in Boyertown, Kutztown, Schuylkill Valley, Tulpehocken, Twin Valley, especially in light of our academic performance. We encourage the board to negotiate with us in good faith and to work towards a resolution of this problem. Thank you. If you'll indulge me for another moment, I would like to say something to our departing board members. While the Education Association and school board sometimes find ourselves at odds regarding contractual issues, perhaps now more than ever, we would be remiss in failing to recognize departing board members for their contributions and countless hours of service that you have provided to this district and the community. While we may now or in the past disagree on policy matters, we understand that you have served with the best interest of Wilson's children in mind. Carol, you are the consummate educator. You devoted your life to the education of the district's children as a teacher, as a union president, board member, chairperson of the curriculum committee, and you've been a tireless advocate for reading instruction across the district. Dr. Chmielewski, you've been a tireless and staunch advocate for STEM education and technology in this district, And your support and position as chairperson of that committee has been crucial as Wilson established itself as a leader in STEM education in the county and beyond. Robert, thank you for serving as chairman of our Student Outreach Committee and co-chairman of the Technology Committee, where you provided much-needed guidance and input with respect to critical student services and served as the district's liaison to the Berks Career Center while advocating for career education. Jason, you currently serve as the chairperson of the HR and Student Discipline Committees, serving previously as board president. You've been instrumental in district efforts to establish equity at our 2 middle schools, and we thank you for that, and you've been a noted presence at many district functions. So on behalf of the WEA, we'd like to thank all the board members for their service.
Next is Dan Buckley.
Good evening. My name is Dan Buckley. I've been a resident of the Wilson School District since August of 2000, and from 2003 through 2014, at least one and usually both of my children were students in the district. I'm currently in my 12th year as an hourly teacher at Whitfield Elementary. Wilson has always been a competitive school district. Our athletic teams are consistently vying for league, district, and state championships in a wide variety of sports. With the help of a huge investment in recent years, our district now has athletic facilities that are second to none in this area. I was thrilled that my daughter and her teammates were finally able to play field hockey on a beautiful turf field during her senior year. But are we not also called to be as competitive in the classroom? A Pennsylvania school performance profile compiled by the Pennsylvania Department of Education clearly shows that we are indeed competitive in that regard. This profile considers a number of academic metrics and assigns an overall score to individual schools and school districts. Of the 18 school districts in Berks County, Wilson High School had an academic score of 88.8, the highest of any high school in the county. For my purposes, I compared only high schools in the county in order to be consistent, and because the performance of students at the high school level reflects the foundation that they have received along the way, from elementary school to middle school to high school. In contrast, the Commonwealth Foundation listed the average salary of classroom teachers for these same 18 school districts during the 2015-16 school year, the latest year for which data was available. Wilson teachers found themselves with the 3rd lowest average salary in the county. In fact, the only average salaries that were lower were found in the 2 districts that had the lowest academic scores according to PDE. This huge discrepancy between performance and compensation relates directly to the problems that the Wilson School District has with relatively high turnover and relatively low tenure of its educators. Approximately 20 teachers have left the district in the past 4 to 5 months. The average tenure of a Wilson teacher is the lowest in the county. A teacher can literally drive a handful of miles down the road and earn thousands more each year. With this knowledge, it should come as no surprise that a number of quality educators continue to choose to leave Wilson for other opportunities. A huge entity like the Wilson School District has financial challenges. I understand that. Health insurance costs continue to rise, and there is a pension funding crisis that exists statewide. The board has shown prudence and foresight in designating $4.8 million toward future pension requirements. The board has also demonstrated fiscal restraint by only increasing school taxes by 1.4% for this school year. This represents a middle-of-the-road increase compared to the other 17 districts in the county. Wilson is blessed with an exceptional tax base and currently has a reserve fund with a balance just shy of $14 million. Revenues exceeded expenses by $3.5 million during the 2015-16 fiscal year. This district is on very solid financial footing, and the tax base which fortifies this footing is not going away anytime soon. This financial status allows us to have the 3rd lowest school tax rate in the county. Any issues relating to economics and salaries exist not because of a lack of financial means. Rather, there appears to be a lack of will to demonstrate how much we value our children and our educators, how much we are willing to invest in them and the future of this school district. I know that we all want what's best for our kids. It's time to solve this. Thank you for your time.
And last but not least, Bill McAuliffe.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bill McCauley. I reside in Sinking Spring. I had two children who attended the Wilson School District, actually 3. And I want to, before I begin my remarks, thank the board members for your service to the community. I've been to a number of meetings. We've had a number of disagreements, but I have to thank you. It's a very time-consuming ordeal that you've put up with, and it takes a special intestinal fortitude to be a member of the board. So I just want to express my thanks with the rest of the folks. What I'd like to talk to the board tonight is about a basic concern regarding transparency. You're spending over $2 million per meeting. We get a summary of the detail at the top end of the meeting. We don't even understand, as a taxpayer, what that $2 million was spent on or for, salaries, whatever. I'd encourage you to give me some type of a top 10. What are you spending it on? I've learned a significant amount from some of the teachers who just addressed you. The amounts that we're setting aside for pensions, the salary, some of the salaries themselves. But I have a concern that the average taxpayer in this community is not getting the correct information. When I read through your agenda and your minutes, I find things that they're weak. You're charging me by the hour for new teachers or new programs, but there's no indication of what that really entails on a yearly basis. So instead of telling me we're going to spend $116 a day for River Rock Academy, give me an estimated number at the end of the year, what that will be. Is it going to be $25,000 or $2,500? If you have programs with our teachers, what are we talking about? Are we talking about $11 an hour, or are we talking about another $3,000 per teacher? I think the average citizen would like to know where these numbers are going and what they're being used for. It's important that the community understands where this money for this $100 million business is going to be spent for. We refer to the attachments on the agenda and the attachments in the minutes. I can't find those attachments. I'd really like to know. I've looked on the website. They're not there. I've looked on the minutes, they're not there. So either I'm academically challenged on a computer, okay, I'm getting to you in a second, but that has to be addressed. I would like to have the more details published in the comments published by the speakers in this position. I read one where the president of the union spoke, and all it said was he addressed the board. That doesn't help me as a taxpayer to understand his concerns. But I'll just skip over and go to the bottom. You're coming up on a whole reorganizational meeting. I would encourage Mr. Maravich to rewrite your Roberts Rules of Order that you use and open the meeting up for discussion and answers. We are allowed to address the board. The board is not giving us any answers to those questions. If I write you a note, if I ask for some information, everyone has always been very forthcoming. But I think you should position yourselves, both with the new members and the existing members, to open these meetings up. There were a couple of questions that were asked previously. I think they deserved an answer tonight, not necessarily wait. But that only will come about for the rules of order. I'm about to be cut off, but I think you're cutting off the interaction with the community when you don't answer the questions that can be asked at a meeting like this, such as why did we buy a baby grand piano for the West School at the height of a recession? There's only 3 people at that meeting. But I really would have liked to ask that question and got a response that night. Thank you for your time. Now you can't, or else you're going to open the meeting up, and then everybody's going to come back and forth.
I appreciate everybody's comments this evening. The Wilson School Board and the administration greatly respect and value our professional staff. We also support the collective bargaining process that is currently underway with the WEA. we look forward to continuing these discussions and are hopeful that we can agree on a contract that is affordable and consistent with the district's goals and expectations of the community, and we'll keep the community posted. Thank you. Yes.
If I may. Mrs. Roth, thank you for your comments. I first saw your son perform Into the Woods, and I found him to be an incredible young man, and I hope he finds his way back into the district here if he does follow into the education profession. I think he would be a great addition to this district. And thank you for your 35 years of service to the district. I also graduated from Wilson. I also came back to this area. Both of my brothers now live in the district. My two nephews go to school here. I care about what's happening to this community and to this district as well. And I can assure you that every board member here cares what is best for this community. And it may not always seem that way. And it may not always seem as if this board supports education and supports our teachers. But I can assure you, speaking individually, that we do. You know, I've heard many times tonight and previously about the lowest retention rate in the county. And certainly that is alarming. But you need to dig into the weeds a bit to find out what that really means. We've had 18 teachers leave since May of 2017, 8 of whom are no longer in education. Some are stay-at-home moms. Some have moved out of the area. Some in the staff nurses are now in private practice. 2 mentioned tonight. 1 went to a private school that is not bound by collective bargaining that a public school is. And then you had a fair number of teachers that have left the district that live in Philadelphia, King of Prussia, Phoenixville, that have decided, like many of us, to take a position close to home. So to utilize the idea of 20% or whatever it may be is a bit misleading. Yes, we want to retain every one of you that are here, that are quality educators, but there are sometimes circumstances that are unrelated to where we are in collective bargaining. And I think that is fair for the public to hear and to understand. We do want to get to that point where everyone is happy moving forward. But it is important that information that is utilized is not just big numbers or averages, but as I said, you dig into the weeds to find out some background to that. I hope that this matter gets resolved soon and gets resolved as we come upon the holiday season, that we can all be thankful of what we have here in this district and this community. And I can assure you that I will work hard with the incoming board members, along with the fellow board members that remain, to try to get this thing done.
Thank you.
I do have a brief thing to say. Whoever assumes the C, there's a lot you have to weigh. Right now, Pennsylvania passed a 100% exclusion on the Homestead Act. To my absolute dismay. Those of you who know me know that I have fought the Tea Party left and right on that issue. It's bad for schools, but it went through. Right now, there are 2 bills in Washington which have sweeping generalizations to changing the tax code, all of which make property tax either diminutive or non-deductible. No one who sits in this seat has a crystal ball. No one knows where that ball is going to land. And for that reason, and that reason alone, people need to be realistic. I know many of you have taught my sons. That's it. You know my sons.
Motion to adjourn. Mr. Hopp, I'm going to give it to, I'll give ladies if that's okay. I'll give it to Carol. All in favor? Aye.